the Taylor Swift people are furious at me right now.
Wait, like the T Swift mafia, like the T Swift.
Yeah,
mob?
I can't even keep up with the mentions right now. So here's the story. I don't know that you would know anything about this. And I asked you about this off air to know whether you would know anything, because I'm thinking, how much do I need to set this up for our audience? What percentage of people are aware that this happened? I think it's probably the number one story in terms of the amount of attention it's gotten in the last 24 hours. Not in terms of significance, just in terms of the amount of attention it's gotten. So Taylor Swift showed up at an NFL game in Kansas City. The Chiefs are playing the Bears. Taylor Swift shows up, sits next to Travis Kelce, who is a famous tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. She sits next to his mom. She cheers on the Kansas City Chiefs. They evidently are now dating. So earlier in the day, before I knew, Buck, that Travis Kelce was going to be dating Taylor Swift, although that rumor was out there, I actually took a shot at him because Travis Kelce is endorsing two products, and these ads are running all the time. Bud Light, which I think is an intriguing decision, given the fact that Bud Light thinks, that dudes who pretend to be girls are heroes. And also, even worse, and this to me is actually indefensible, he is endorsing the Pfizer COVID shot. So there are commercials. If you watch NFL games, it is impossible to miss, in particular, I have no idea, probably tens of million, maybe even $100 million Pfizer is spending advertising its COVID shot. And the thing that I'm fired up about associated with this, Buck, is the reason they're advertising using Travis Kelce is they're trying to convince young men that they need to go get the COVID shot, because obviously the people who are paying the most attention and know Travis Kelce the best would be young men in general.
So I have questions.
Yes.
Is he good in the NFL?
Yeah, he would be. He's a Hall of Fame tight end. He's one of the probably the best tight end in the NFL.
How much is he making? What, $15 million a year, something like that?
Probably. I don't know what his exact salary. Guys in the studio can look it up. I would guess that he's probably top tight end. Usually makes about $15 million a year.
Okay, so very rich fellow. Not Taylor Swift rich. Taylor Swift is like GDP of
nowhere
a medium-sized country rich at this point. Like Taylor Swift,
I think, is going to become the wealthiest musician in the history of music.
Yeah,
in her life. I don't think that's a crazy prediction.
Okay, so now, with that said, how much money do you think they have to pay him, especially on the Bud Light side? Clearly, they've decided the only way to dig themselves out of this hole is to go as ultra masculine, brand safe NFL kind of advertiser as possible. And so I would assume that comes with additional, if you do, let's just say, if you're in a commercial. So I have a friend, and it wasn't me. You could, this is one of these things you go, like I have a friend who maybe was I don't know how else this is. He was like the guy in a national advertisement for a condom brand. Okay. And yeah. Guy I know well. And he got paid very well for this, because
like very well would be what? Like how much did you get paid for a national ad?
This is many years ago. I don't know. But it's just that he's not a famous person, but just to be in that, if you do certain kinds of ads, there's additional dollars because there's a little bit of a brand. Now people are Googling.
Yeah, like you don't want to be the guy with the STDs. Like Joey on Friends back in the day.
If you're doing ads for hemorrhoid cream
or genital herpes,
you're getting more money for which is weird. But not weird, but it's kind of funny because like you're just an actor, like you're not actually. But they tend to want to pay you more money because of the brand association. I'm bringing it up because in the context of being the Bud Light guy at this point, I bet his agent, Travis Kelce, right? I bet his agent, that guy, they probably wrote him a check for $10 million. I mean, remember, it's a huge international corporation, so they still have very, very deep pockets. It's not like Bud Light is their one product. I'm assuming the same way that in the government, if you go somewhere dangerous, you get hazard pay. I think this guy gets brand hazard pay for his association with Bud Light, and he should get is what
I was going to read you. I don't know that you've seen this. So I commented on the Bud Light and the Pfizer commercials. This is what I tweeted, Buck, which has set the world afire here all of a sudden. Travis Kelce's doing Bud Light and COVID shot commercials. He needs to fire all his marketing agents, or he needs to just go ahead, cut his penis off, become a chick, and endorse Joe Biden. And I think that's a really good tweet. It is ricocheting everywhere. And in the wake of him now dating Taylor Swift, everybody in the Taylor Swift community is fired up now at Me Too. But here's the deal. The Bud Light, Buck, to me, I could be like, okay, you're going to do a beer commercial. Doing the Pfizer commercial, to me, is the indefensible one. And that's the one I wonder how much they had to pay him. Because you're telling effectively young men to get a shot that gives them virtually no benefit, right? If you're a young man, if you're in your teenage years, certainly if you're in your 20s or 30s, you have zero risk by and large from COVID. You probably already had it. And the risk reward here, and we've had a lot of doctors on to talk about this, is with myocarditis, you could actually have a heart reaction to the COVID shot itself. And people may not know this, but you and I, we get asked when we do ads, even though we're not, directly getting paid, they'll say, hey, will you do a read for so-and-so or whatever? And you and I will say, yes, most of the time. But sometimes we say no. I mean this honestly. I do not believe there is a dollar figure that Pfizer or Moderna could offer me to do a COVID shot ad. And I'll give you an example. I said years ago, Buck, on the, what was the vaping thing? Remember when vaping, they were spending a lot of money on radio ads?
Yeah.
They were like, would you do vaping ads? And I said, no, I wouldn't do it because I won't do a product that I 100% wouldn't want my kids to ever use.
Tobacco is that's the only thing. I just won't do any tobacco stuff. That's supposed
yeah.
to be
So I wouldn't do cigarette ads. I mean, look, all of you are welcome to make your own choices. I'm fine doing beer or liquor. I'm fine certainly doing sports gambling. I'm probably not
getting a name tag sponsor anytime soon either, but that's okay.
But the idea, and by the way, Pfizer and Moderna may well buy ads because some of you are going to tweet us. Like, we don't control what ads show up during the podcast or what ads show up on clayandbuck.com. Like, those are a lot of times, sold differently. It's not like you and I are involved. But individually, to say, hey, go get this shot, when I would tell my kids, no, over my dead body, you are not getting the COVID shot. And to your point, Buck, Travis Kelce makes $15 million a year. Whatever he's making from Pfizer is going to be a rounding error, relatively speaking. He's a single guy. He doesn't have a family. He's got more money than he could ever spend. That, to me, is indefensible. It just is.
I feel like he must be listening to someone in, whether it's an agent or business manager or something, because to me, the downside is so much higher for him than the upside, because a lot of people will be wondering, especially, I mean, on the vaccine one, that's a serious thing, right?
100%. Like Bud Light, whatever. I wouldn't do it right now, but I could be persuaded over time.
Look,
like,
if, Bud Light wants to try to change their image around and they feel like they made mistakes, they want to pay people, that's fine. I mean, that to me is, look, this is, if the price is right, we take a little Bud Light money. I mean, it might take a little Bud Light money if they wanted to do
I would do
thing.
Bud Light, Miller Light, Coors Light over time. Like, I would do an ad for a beer company. I have no issue.
I would not do an ad. I would not speak about getting the COVID shot. I mean, it'd be like me, telling everybody it's time to get your N95 mask on. So,
but I mean, I just think it's so particularly pernicious because he's trying to convince young kids, and I mean kids, I'm saying teenagers, 20-somethings, young guys who are sitting around watching the NFL, that they should go get something that provides them no benefit and might do them harm. I find it absolutely reprehensible by Travis Kelce. And so I don't know, again, to your point, who's advising him. I imagine he's a football player. It's not like he's sitting around probably looking at the data on COVID shots. But whoever's advising him, I mean, that's a bad look. It's a really bad look. And I would bet at this point, what percentage of people do you think are even going to get those shots, Buck? How many people get the updated COVID shot? 10% of the United States population?
5.
Even lower.
I go 5. Yeah. I think so.
So you're selling a product that the overwhelming majority of Americans have rejected because they don't believe in it. It's just, I think it's a really poor choice. But so that's all and then you throw in the Taylor Swift angle, and a lot of you are going to say, well, of course he's doing Bud Light commercials and getting COVID shots. She's super left wing. Maybe that's the price. Maybe that's the price of dating T Swizzle, is you have to be willing to just subject yourself to all this ridiculous left wing insanity.